coming up right now, I've got to say, I'm so curious to hear what Howard Lutnick of Cantor Fitzgerald has to say about the road ahead in a potentially tumultuous year.
Let's get straight to it. Howard, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, it's good to see you. You might have missed it. We were talking about resilience in the US economy and US financial markets. Typically, we always talk about risk and vulnerabilities. Can we start with resilience before we talk about risk? How impressed have you been by how resilient the economy and financial markets have been?
The economy's hanging tough. Inflation has not gone away. All young people, they think interest rates of zero are like normal. If you're 62 like me, you know that that's a manufactured nonsense. So here's my view. Steady Eddie. Okay, this concept, imagine the market is now calling for a 175 basis point cut by the Fed. Really? How about this? No way. No way at all. That is just a nonsense. If they get it wrong, they're going to get it wrong by staying higher for longer. And I think that is likely to occur.
If they stay where they are right now at about 5%, a little bit north of that, do you see capital markets activity coming back just because of that stability and that known?
Yeah, you just said it. Stability, it's fine. 5% is like a normal rate. I mean, we have a $34 trillion deficit. $34 trillion. Should it be at 2%? No, of course not. 5% sounds reasonable. I think the world can deal with it. But inflation is still too high, and it's coming down. It's coming down, but it's not done. Come on. You go to the supermarket, you do all the things we all do. You got to be kidding me. Inflation is not in the rearview mirror, and therefore, we're going to stay higher for longer. But it's not really higher. It's kind of here, maybe a little lower, sort of just to show off. But let's face it, 175 basis points, that, I think, is actually funny.
Well, okay, and that's what we heard from Ken Rogoff as well, that this seems like a pipe dream. That said, given that kind of backdrop of a soft landing and no Fed rate cuts this year, or very few of them, how much? Can you give some sort of quantity or some sort of qualification of how much IPOs, M&A, high-yield debt issuance could really pick up in an environment like that?
Well, look, so trading markets, for the banks, trading markets are back. I mean, zero interest rates were boring. So we own BGC Partners. It's the largest, most successful wholesale financial service company. And that business is on fire, right? Stock was up 80% last year, and it's still only trading 7.5 times earnings because our earnings are jumping so high, it's kind of sticking with it. So BGC doing well. So the banks are going to trade really well. They're going to have really good numbers all year long because now there's reasons to trade. I mean, let's face it, when interest rates are zero, you call the account, bring a pillow with you. It's just boring. But now at least you can sell A, buy B. So I think the banks are going to do really well. So you can see financial services are going to do really well. And we should talk a little bit about crypto, too, before we finish.
Oh, well, let's squeeze it in. What would you like to say?
So remember when gold ETFs started? They were very exciting in 2004, and it kind of stayed steady. There was all this hype that everyone's going to buy gold, and oh, come on. So I think Bitcoin ran up. It's kind of going to stay steady. But when the halving comes, it's going to start to rally and grow. So Bitcoin, I think, will grow. And there's a company that I like called Tether. It's a stable coin. And you know, I manage many of their assets. And Tether Holdings is the name of the group. And the group, I want to say it here with you, from what we've seen, and we did a lot of work, they have the money they say they had. In the last attestation, they said they had 86 billion of assets and 83 billion of liabilities. And I've seen a whole lot, and the firm has seen a whole lot, and they have the money. And so there's always been a lot of talk. Do they have it or not? So I'm with you guys saying we've seen it, and they have it.
So spot Bitcoin ETF, do you think that's going to restore confidence to the whole sector, given what we've seen take place in the last 12 months?
No, that doesn't have anything. That's just a way for Americans to buy it. Can I ask you a question?
Sure, please do.
Why are Americans having anything to do with Bitcoin anyway? Why do they have anything to do with stablecoin anyway? Well, I can give you money on Venmo, on PayPal. It's not an American thing. This is Americans just cocking around like buying Tesla stock. Okay?
Well, they're doing that plenty.
I know they do, but this is a speculative asset for us. But for countries like Argentina, Venezuela, Turkey, these crypto assets matter. Stable coins matter in those countries. Okay, they really do. It's a way to hold on to the dollar. So I think Tether's stable coin in Argentina, in Venezuela, in Turkey. I mean, imagine you're in Turkey. You don't want to hold the Turkish lira. I mean, come on. It's going to go down 50% this year. You want to hold the dollar, and holding it in a token right? Holding your dollar in a token is amazing. So I think that's why Tether's doing really well. You realize Tether has $95 billion in issuance. It's a huge amount.
Moving slightly away from crypto, I know that you've called CME Group the extraordinary monopoly in America and have tried to figure out ways to compete more directly. So how do you plan to take them on this year?
All right, so 2024, it's coming. It's called FMX. So remember, we are extraordinary in the markets for U.S. Treasuries. So we have an electronic marketplace for U.S. Treasuries. It's been growing market share 2% sequentially each quarter. So each quarter, last quarter was 25, so we'll probably do 27 this quarter. Just sequentially, quarter by quarter, we're going to partner with all the major banks. All the important banks are going to be partners with us because they want to create a competitor to that awesome CME, just to keep someone a little honest, a little competition. So FMX is coming. We expect to get CFTC full approvals. We're going to announce all our partners who are banks, which will really be more of who's not in than who is in. It'll be less exciting because everybody's going to be in, and we will roll out a competitor to the CME in 2024.
Right. We'll have you back on with another pitch. I do want to get to this idea of fixed income trading. You were saying that this is good before you could have a pillow. Now it's actually exciting and fun, but it's been maybe a little too exciting. We saw FIC results come in from some of the banks a little lighter than people had previously expected. What's optimal in terms of yield swings, and what's good or what's bad for traders?
Well, traders like volatility. They like movement. It doesn't mean it's always going to go their way, but they're in the game of making transactions with their clients. And if interest rates were zero this year, and interest rates were zero next year, and interest rates are zero, whatever, I mean, who's calling who? It's kind of boring. So this market is excellent. Whether it goes up, it's not going to go up anymore, right? We know interest rates are not going up, and that would be horrific if they went up. The market would just vomit everywhere if that happened. So the question is, how much are they coming down? I think the answer is a little bit, way less than people think. And I think you're going to see the banks do extremely well through this. 2024 is going to be really wonderful. You saw JP Morgan's results were great. Okay, Citi didn't have it as good, but you know, Citi's always on the back end of things. But I think even they'll get it together. And I think you're going to see the banks do really, really well. And they're going to be a wonderful performing asset in 2024.
You could replace caffeine. I think we've got to do more morning breakfast meetings with Howard Lutnick.
Totally.
Great energy. Howard, it's good to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you, buddy. Howard Lutnick there of Cantor Fitzgerald.